It's
and
fun.
not help us.
Wait, Rowan, you saw me say I miss Rowan.
No.
Um,
I saw your first few polls. That's why I sent a message saying, like, did you guys just get it?
I
With
said
the
I miss
white
Rowan
mage.
like 4 times. I miss Rowan.
I
You
had
got
sound
in
off too.
about maybe a half hour into rain.
Yeah. Then I realized like it's not healing. It's not healing the same. I don't have that sync. I really
Okay.
don't. I'm like,
Alright. No more Final Fantasy talk. Okay, so,
This one time
at band camp. Alright, so, wow.
You've
Okay.
been
I
warned.
have up because it's been a while.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna go over some basic D&D play, what to expect, how to act, stuff like that. If I can have all you guys get into the Roll20, please.
do you click
The
launch game?
button.
Yes, yeah, launch game.
I clicked it.
And that should load you into the
You care-
adventure.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Don't show
You
the
should have a
skip.
code shape on you at the same time.
I'll figure it out myself.
Alright, does everybody see the beautiful Tomb of Annihilation picture?
No. I see loading.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
loading,
I need to
okay.
change my profile picture. Hold on.
Wow, what a noob.
Do we disallow the mic? I'm sorry.
Yes. Disallow the mic, because I don't want to hear you guys echo.
Echo.
Block that shit.
And one thing.
Question.
Yeah.
Go first.
Answer.
Does it allow me to put this full screen?
F11.
That wasn't
get rid of. Dude, his mouth is
Because I was
huge.
tapped out.
Damn, look at that
Of
mouth
course,
though.
that's what you.
That
that's what you see,
mouse.
Dan. Of
No,
course.
I said mouth.
No, I
Look at
I
that.
know. I know. You're like, that mouth.
Mmm.
It's like, what that mouth do?
I'm dead. Let me change my profile picture so it's like I'm not the sore thumb. This is kind of bad.
Chris never sent me the link to that PDF for the fucking hand guide.
Fucking Chris,
That was nice to
man.
have because I think my books are still.
Oh,
packed up.
so you can actually view it in here. So on Roll20, if you up at the top right, there's a bunch of different, like, there's a chat bubble, a picture
Oh, yeah,
bubble.
it's the eye.
It's the eye. That has the entire player's handbook in there.
I'll bring that up with my
And
laptop.
so you guys can, there's a search function, or you can click on the different categories that it has there, if you so wish.
Before, Ryan, the link that we used before doesn't work anymore.
It was a PDF.
No, I understand that. I went to
Has the
try to
PDF.
pull it up.
Send me the file. Like, Chris has the legit PDF on his computer. He was going to send me the file, but never did.
Gotcha.
Pictures.
Pictures.
Save pictures. Let me upload my thingy.
It's just like Raid. We're starting
Shut up,
10
laptop.
minutes later.
Oh my god, I keep trying to type with my desktop keyboard on my laptop.
Rip.
And it doesn't work.
Why are you using your laptop?
Because of the tablet, so it's easier to,
Dual monitor.
yeah.
Are you using Roll20 for the laptop?
It didn't update.
I'm just bringing up the handbooks on my laptop.
Ah.
Everything else I have on my actual desktop.
I'm now Gecko. Fear me.
If you say so.
It shows you as a star.
Still shows you the star, yep.
We'd have to back out and reload.
Yeah, I think we might have to reload. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
He just has to back out and reload because that's what I had to do for mine.
Nope, I
Yeah.
still show you as a, I have to reload on my screen, because I still show you as that elf from before. Alright, I'm reloading it right now.
Reload. God.
Just refresh the page.
Yeah, just refresh the page.
God damn it, my name is Danny D.
Danny D.
Danny D.
I didn't even fucking. No, shut up, right?
You can change that in-game, or in the thing.
Beyond gives access to them, to the handbooks too, right? Because you have access to all of them?
Yes, yeah, you can also do it in D&D Beyond.
Why is he a fat cat boy?
You can also change, you can change your name in, or your display name, by the cogwheel on the upper right.
Can you order food while we're playing?
What?
Can you order food while we're playing?
Sure.
That's on you. Oh,
I don't know. Like, I don't want to like, I don't want you guys to be cuffed because I had to go get my food.
I'm about to get a drink here in a second. Whenever I get a free chance.
Let me order Postmates before like steak shit closes.
Okay,
Well,
dude.
let me know. Let me know when you're done ordering, because I still gotta go over some general rules and stuff.
Okay, Dad. Oh, by the way, Jess.
Yeah.
Did you know that Mike's into face sitting?
No. No. You're
Would you like
fucking
to see?
terrible.
You have to see the logs of perfect.
Me using you as a
Oh.
chair does not mean I'm into face sitting. Jesus.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
I don't think so, honey.
Like, Michael could be into anal, and as long as it was his asshole, I wouldn't care.
Wow.
Fucking dead.
Wow.
That's fucking savage.
You guys are all fucking terrible.
That's how you know that's a real relationship right there. Holy shit. Are you into anal? Breathe, sweetie. Breathe.
Bro, it just feels like you're taking a shit in reverse. No thanks.
Excuse me. I mean, you're not wrong. But, like, nothing comes out. That's the thing.
All right, well. Is everybody almost ready?
Almost. I need to select my address now. 40 to 55 minutes. $22.39 for a $10 meal. What the fuck? Your delivery has been accepted. Okay, let's do this.
All right, Ryan, you back?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over some ground rules basically. First things first. I'll start with the D&D ground rules here. So, obviously the objective of D&D is to have fun. Some people are gonna make voices, including me. I'm gonna be making a lot of voices. So try not to criticize or make fun of people's voices because we're all here to have fun. Another thing is, so when you're role playing, one of the things that I encourage you to do is basically think, how would my character act, right? So if my character is lawful good, right, like Zach's is, how would a lawful good dwarf act, right? So if somebody's breaking the rules, he's lawful, so he likes to follow the rules and stuff like that, and the laws. So if he sees somebody breaking the law, he's gonna go up to them and try to stop them, obviously, because he's lawful good. So just kind of think of stuff like that, and that'll kind of help you role play a little bit. Just what would my character do in this situation? Now, your characters have, like, there are consequences to their actions. So if people just go around pickpocketing everybody, people are going to get upset and people are going to want to fight your character. Just keep that in mind, that you can piss people off. And if you're yelling at people, they can also get upset. These are, you pretend like these are, real people in a real situation, that you got to think, hey, if I do this, how is this character, how is this NPC going to react to what I do? Another thing to keep in consideration is when we finally get to combat, you can literally do anything. If we're in a room, right, like we're in a house, and there's a chair and a table right next to you, if you wanted to, if you could, you can pick up that table and you can throw it across the room. If you see a knife sitting on the table, you can pick it up and try to use it as a weapon. If you want to toss the little halfling across a room to avoid a dangerous trap, you can do that.
Scooches over to Dan. Hi, buddy.
Sitting on all of your shoulders.
Dan, don't worry, Dan. I got wings. It's fine.
Fuck yeah, I already love
We're
her.
still gonna fucking toss you, Dan.
I'm with Road
small,
Jess
okay.
so she can get a super fast punch in.
Basically,
Berries.
the moral of the story is if you can think it, chances are you can probably do it. If you're not sure, ask. I will let you know.
You are the dungeon master.
I am the
Do the-
dungeon master. I am the keeper of the rules and the story of this game. I am not here to kill all of you. I am here to bring everybody through a journey to the end to all have a good time. So don't think of me as your enemy because I am not here to kill everybody. Me killing everybody does not result in a win for anybody.
The fucking lies.
Well, it could be a
Speeding
personal
us.
win for you.
No, it's not. If you guys have any questions, you can either DM me in Discord or you can whisper me on Roll20. To do that, you type in /whisper or /W, like that, obviously without the period. And then you type in my tag, which is GM, or my name, which is GM. If you wanted to whisper another party member, you would replace GM with their name you see down there on the bottom. So it would be Danny D or Rowan or Ryan D, and you can whisper them messages nobody else would see. Another thing to do in Roll20, obviously you guys are going to be making a lot of rolls. So over on the top left, you can see you have a few different things that you can select. You have a pointer, which you can use to select things like your token, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. You have a paintbrush. For the love of God, the first person to draw a dick is going to get kicked. But there is a drawing tool. Please do not abuse this drawing tool. It
Well, that's like you're looking at me.
Because me and you have abused this drawing tool before.
Hey,
Um,
Sleepy is guilty.
I'm not denying it, but Sleepy's not here.
There's also a ruler, so you can see how many feet you can move or how far away something is. Basically, just you can measure stuff. There's also a little clock. If you click that, that's a turn order. So when I ask you guys to roll initiative, your guys' pictures or your tokens are going to appear here. Same thing with the monsters. When they roll initiative, they're going to appear here as well. And I will sort it by descending order. So the person with the highest initiative will obviously be on top. And that's how we keep track of who's going next. Below that, you'll see a little dice picture. That is your dice roller. You can either click on the die and if you have 3D dice turned on, you can roll it. Or just by clicking on it, obviously there in chat, it rolls it for you. The advanced roll, if you need to roll multiple dice with modifiers, you can. So roll 2d6 with a +3 +3 modifier. As you see there, I rolled 2d6 and I got a +3 modifier, giving me a total of 13. So that's how you're going to roll dice, or you can type in chat /roll 1d whatever. You could even do a 1d65, even though that doesn't exist. So you can just /roll and you type in 1d or 2d or whatever. You can even add the +3 or the +5, whatever your modifier is, and it'll roll it that way. Going over to the right, the top right there, so we're currently in the chat bubble section. The one to the right of that is, what is it for you guys? Is it the little, what icon is it? Journal. So that is, I'm going to be giving you guys handouts throughout the game. You can find those in that little journal section, so you guys can look at them. And there's obviously a bunch of settings in the cogwheel section. That's where you turn on the 3D dice, I believe. There's a little tick that says enable 3D dice. if you want to see your dice rolls. If you guys wish and you want to roll dice in person, you can do that. I'm not going to hold it against you. Just please be honest. I know I'm going to be doing that from time to time because I am going to have to do rolls where you guys can't see what I'm doing. But I don't know where my dice are at the moment, so I'll find that later.
Really?
Jess,
You
where'd you
have
hide
that
them?
much dice
It's
and
not
you
where
don't know where they're at?
It's not where I didn't hide them. It's I have to know where everything is. So I already know where they are.
Anyways, so a question was brought up. A question was brought up about how do I role play. Basically, what I'm gonna be doing, or my job is most of the time, describing to you guys the scenario that you find yourselves in, where you're at, what it looks like, what people are doing. My job is to describe as much detail to you as possible without boring you guys. So at some point, I'm going to describe something, and then I'm just going to stop talking to give you guys a chance to role play. And this is kind of where that what would your character do kind of situation. So I describe you guys are in this house. In this house, there's a dwarf and an elf. They seem to be bickering at each other, but they're sitting down. They're not standing up. They're not really loud, but you can see there's hand gestures, and they're kind of pointing at each other and waving their fists in the air. What do you do? And then I'll stop, and then you can say, oh, well, Zed is going to go up to them and try to figure out what's going on between the two. And then I'll act like, oh, well, the dwarf sees you coming over and they get all quiet and they just stare at you silently and they ask you, what do you want? And then we'll start a dialogue and things like that. So it's between in that situation, the role play is between me and the character Zed. Of course, I will be playing all the NPCs. But just if you were Zed, what would you do? What would you say? How would you react? Things like that. No, not fly away.
Fly away.
Skirt, skirt, love.
Not fly away. Another thing to keep in mind is your alignment. Again, if you're lawful good and you see somebody stealing, you're obviously going to want to stop that person. But that also means if your party wants to do something that is a little unlawful, they may or may not try to leave you before they do it because they know that you're going to stop them. Um, Again, also if your alignment is neutral evil or chaotic evil, obviously you want to do bad stuff. So you would play, if you saw those two arguing, maybe you would walk over to one of them and punch one. Uh, or maybe you would slam your fist on the ground, tell them to both shut up, that kind of thing.
What if
Um,
neutral, neutral?
if you're neutral, that means you basically so
Plant.
you're a
Here,
plant.
I've got like a list of what to keep in mind if you're neutral, because I'm neutral. So let me send it to you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Basically, it's kind of up to you. You see somebody breaking the law. Basically, the first attribute, both lawful, neutral, and chaotic, that is basically how you view the law, view the rules of the land. If you choose to uphold those or go against those. The second part, the good, neutral, and evil, those are basically your morals, right? So if you're evil, obviously you're a person with not very good morals, so you don't care about killing people. Whereas if somebody is good, you're going to want to try to not kill people, stuff like that. Um, any questions so far?
Can we have our own bio under a different window, just to refer to back and forth?
Sure.
As in, when we made that thingy, yeah.
Have your character sheet up in another window. That is highly
There we go.
recommended.
Character sheet.
Yes, yeah, definitely gonna want that on hand to refer to at all times because a lot of times I'm gonna ask you to, hey Dan, I need you to make a athletics check. So you gotta look in your skills section. Athletics. I have a +2 in athletics, so I'm gonna roll a 20-sided die, and I'm gonna add 2 to it, and then that's
Okay.
gonna be your athletics check.
I fuck fucks with it. I fucks with it. I think it's gonna be fun.
Any other questions?
And let me see.
I have a question. Are we gonna know right off the bat if another player's alignment, or are we just gonna have to like kind of guess by their behavior?
You're not going to know them unless you directly ask them or if you pay attention to their behavior. Because I don't believe any of you guys knew each other. Looking at your backstories, nobody really knows anybody, so you're not going to know anything about them. And that's kind of going to be the thing going in as well. You got to remember that you guys are strangers. Maybe some of you have never seen a bird person before. So when you finally meet Zed, you're going to be like staring at him hardcore, like, what the hell is that thing? Or maybe you're open-minded and you're like, hey, my name is
Becky.
Anorak. My name's Anorak. How's it going? You just kind of gotta think, how would my character act? Also, keep that in mind that unless you ask them, you don't know anything about them, so you wouldn't know if character A had a bad upbringing, or if character A, likes to steal stuff. You can ask. So sometimes there will be like, okay, I need one of you to make a Arcana check. You can ask everybody, hey, who has the best Arcana check or the best modifier in Arcana? You can definitely ask that. But yeah, if there's anything else that you want to learn about the character itself, you would have to ask. There's nothing that you would know off the bat.
Woo.
Yeah.
Unarmed strike.
All right. Any other
Good
questions?
question, and this is probably a really stupid question and doesn't matter. But the names we're all under. It said in the thing when I changed it, you're out of character name, but it seems everyone else just put their character names.
Yes, yeah, I would prefer your character names. That way I can just look and glance.
I wasn't sure about that either.
Yeah, it is a lot easier for me and everybody else if you put your character name for the Roll20.
Dude, like, RPing has been a big thing with me. It wasn't fucking obvious. For a fact. So this is gonna be fun.
That's good. That's good. Okay.
I'm a scaly. Fucking hear me.
Remember, do not make fun of anyone else's RP because they are probably new to this.
I don't give a shit.
All right.
You
Any other
just remember
questions?
that birds commonly prey on reptiles.
Excuse me while I go and hide underneath.
Or
Uh.
maybe scare me.
Birds scare me.
Any other questions?
When can we start?
As soon as everybody's questions are out of the way.
Are we
I
doing
can
the push to talk thing or not?
Nah, we'll try this first, and then if it gets too hectic, then we'll do push to talk. But
Oh, I'm gonna have push to talk on this
But
mission.
don't talk over people. It's mainly the main thing.
yes, yeah, there's 7 of us in here. So if somebody's talking, especially if it's not me, please be respectful of the fact that they're talking. Unless you're trying to, like, if somebody is talking to somebody and being rude to them, and your character would be like, "Hey, no, stop," then that's different. If it's in a roleplay aspect, that's fine. But if you're trying to talk over somebody in a non-roleplay aspect, please be respectful of the fact that they are talking. It's gonna take a little getting used to, but basically, if you're trying to stop them roleplay wise, then that's okay. But otherwise, don't. Okay, so it looks like we got all the questions out of the way. So there's one last thing that I wanted to let you guys in on before we start, and that's the difference between zombies, skeletons, and people who were brought back from the dead. So people who were brought back from the dead, either loved ones or rich people who died early, and they paid money to have a priest or somebody bring them back to life. That way, if a priest, depending on what spell they cast, obviously, but typically if somebody had paid a priest to bring them back to life, it brings their soul back as well. So they are the same person who they were before they died, basically. they still have their soul, so they can still make decisions and they can still think for themselves and stuff like that. Whereas zombie, huh?
So they're conscient then?
Yes, yeah. Where skeletons and zombies are dead people who have been brought back to life without a soul. They don't, uh, they can't really think for themselves. They just go after the nearest food source, kind of thing. But that's basically all I wanted to go over.
Give me like a minute just because I need to feed my cats. They don't bug me.
Okay.
3 hours.
I had a question actually. Will the people that are brought back look like normal humans? Will we be able to tell the difference?
Not really, no.
Is that so we can tell the difference, or they don't look human?
No, they'll still look human. You won't be able to tell the difference.
Okay.
Or I should say, typically, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference under normal circumstances.
I demand they have glowing blue eyes.
Those are high elves.
This isn't WoW.
Alright, everybody ready?
And they're yellow.
Yep.
Alright. So, the campaign we're going to play is called Tomb of Annihilation. So, if anybody watches D&D games or anything like that, don't watch anything related to Tomb of Annihilation. don't
Why?
don't spoil the story for yourself. Otherwise, it won't be as fun. But let's go ahead and get started. So let me do this. All right. Let me know if the music's too loud. But
Good for me.
So-
Fox a bit.
so you guys are starting off the adventure in Baldur's Gate, which is along a river and a bay of water. Kind of very similar to the ocean, but not quite as big. So you guys are here for different reasons. Each one of you have come to Baldur's Gate with a different objective in mind. But one thing you guys have all done is visit taverns. Maybe not the same tavern, but probably different taverns. But there is a bulletin board in each one, and on this bulletin board was a piece of paper. It's a pretty beat up piece of paper. It's been there probably for a while. It kind of looks frayed on the edges and stuff like that. It's maybe some drink got spilled on it. But basically, it's an invitation to somebody's house. This somebody is named Syndra. That's all it says. And she tells you to meet at her house, her mansion. She gives you a rough date, and she tells you towards the afternoon, kind of around like 6 or 7 o'clock ish. So you guys are pretty much all interested, and it doesn't really explain much. Basically, that this Syndra person has a quest for you to go on, and they will reward you handsomely. Kind of generic, doesn't really give a whole lot away. But when you look at it, you guys are something about it kind of draws your attention to it, and you're really interested in to figure out what kind of adventure this is. So the day comes, and you guys walk up to the mansion as described in the letter. You guys don't all arrive there at once. You guys kind of trickle in, one here, one there, maybe 2 here and another there. And as you guys are walking into the mansion, or as you guys walk up to the mansion, you knock on the door, and a dressed butler answers, and he says, "Are you here about the letter?" And you guys say, "Yes, we're here to meet with Syndra about this adventure." And He says, "Okay, come in," and he leads you into basically like a little lobby. It's a fairly big mansion, so the lobby's it's a good size. It could probably fit 20 people in this lobby. But there are dining tables and chairs around. He says, "Here, have a seat. When everybody arrives, I will contact Syndra and see if she's ready for you." So the first to arrive is Anorak. Um, so you're the first to arrive. There's nobody there, so you just pick a random seat at the table. You're kind of looking around. It's you can tell that it's the home of a wealthy person, not only being a mansion, but there's some really nice things in it. Some things that kind of stand out are some suits of armor, some maps, maybe some shields and swords hung on the wall. You kind of get this feeling that this person may have been an adventurer before. Maybe they still are. You're not entirely sure. But while you're sitting there waiting, you see a dwarf come in the door next. He's an average dwarf. So he's probably, I don't know, how tall are
I
you,
hate him
Theomer?
instantly. I believe it was. Let's see.
Says you're 4'2".
Yep.
So he's about average height for a dwarf. He comes in wearing plate mail armor, right? So you can tell, oh, this guy, or sorry, not plate mail, but chain mail. So you can tell this guy, oh, he's probably a warrior. He's got an axe on it. He's got a hand axe on his hip, and he's got a shield on his back. So you tell he's probably some sort of warrior, but you're not entirely sure. And so when he comes in, you kind of give him this sneering like look of like, don't sit next to me. So
Who, me?
no,
No, me.
Anorak gives Theramir this look, and so Theramir recognizes it, and he just kind of shrugs it off, and he goes and sits on the opposite side of the room. Next, two people come in this time. Reyna and Vance. You guys come walking in. Um, right off the bat, Theramir and Anorak, they kind of think that maybe you guys know each other, maybe you're together, because obviously one of you's a woman, the other one's a man, so they're already kind of getting some assumptions about you guys. But so you guys walk in, and does anybody do anything or anybody?
I go to look at the map.
Okay, so there's a map in the back behind all the tables and chairs, and it's you notice that it's pretty detailed. You notice that it's a pretty detailed map, kind of like as if this person had went there themselves and jotted the map. So you maybe think that maybe that was their job, was to go to search places who have been, or places that have been previously or unknown, and it was their job to go map out the area.
So
They're
it's
a
a place that I
cartographer.
don't
Yeah.
recognize.
Huh?
I said, so it's probably a place I don't recognize.
Yeah, no, definitely don't recognize where it's from there. Vance, where do you go sit in all this?
I'm gonna go try and find a drink.
You're gonna okay.
He's
So
gonna go find a plug-in.
so you walk around the lobby area, and off to the right, near the table where Theramir is sitting, there's a bottle of wine and some cups. And as you're looking around, your eyes kind of lock with the butler, and I'm assuming you would point towards the wine, and
Nod.
yeah, and he nods at you back. So it's okay. Go ahead and have some wine. So you do that, and as you're starting to get the wine, you see a really small, like 2 foot tall, pink lizard person walk in the door. Um,
Pet it.
you immediately go over and pet the lizard.
Yes.
What does Danny O do? There's this giant elf petting you.
I look up at you curiously and wonder, is it soft?
I don't know, Ryan. Is it soft?
That would be your acquaintance.
Soft lizard, furry lizard.
I just pet it and then sit down on a chair nearby and start drinking.
Are you sitting down on the table next to Theramir or next to Anorak? The dwarf or the dwarf or the elf?
Whatever is closest to the wine.
Okay, so you sit down next to this dwarf, about a chair, maybe 2 chairs away, um, while this lizard folk person walks in and kind of peers around the room. He's just kind of looking at the armor maybe. When another one arrives, and this person walks through the door, they kind of have to bend down a little bit to get through the door because they're so tall. But oh wait, no, you're really short. I forgot. so they just walk through the door, and you see a giant bird person. Now I'm assuming none of you before have really seen a bird person before. So are you guys shocked, or are you guys just like, hey, cool?
Ignore him.
I'm cool because I'm a traveler. I travel around, so I've seen lots of different people everywhere.
And I'd roll to see if I notice that it's a monk.
Sure.
Bird person, fascinating. I've read about you in different books.
What should I roll?
A d20. You can roll. I don't know. Let's see.
Like what?
Insight. You can do an insight check.
Okay.
Oh my Jesus Christ! What is all that?
Just
Brian!
Why'd you roll 100 of them?
What the fuck?
That's a nice roll.
12. Okay, that's a little bit better.
I'm so sorry. I just said that earlier. I was gonna try and mess with people earlier, but it didn't show.
It
I
did.
forgot.
'Cause I
So-
keep hearing the damn beeps.
So, you kind of stare at this bird person. One of the things that stands out is the fact that they don't have any weapons on them. So you can kind of assume that they're either some sort of a caster, maybe. Maybe they have a book that they cast from, so maybe like a wizard or a sorcerer. But more than likely, probably not somebody who's gonna, get up in their face and fight with a weapon. So you're not entirely sure what class they may or may not be.
Okay.
So as you walk in, Zed, you kind of get some stares. Other people are just kind of like, eh. What's kind of one of the things that you do?
I make a non-committal greeting sound.
Okay.
Okay, well.
All right. So you
I
make
raise a glass and nod for her to come over here and sit down.
you make a quay, and this elf dressed in robes nods to you. Do you go and sit down with him?
What does the elf look like?
Well, yeah, I
My
mean,
character.
pretty much Vance V's character. He's got, a black hair, short, like kind of short black hair, but in the back is a really long ponytail. He has some garbs on. Maybe they're kind of similar to garbs that you wear. So you can kind of assume that he may or may not be from some sort of monastery.
Okay, can I do like a perception to see if I can discern if he's a monk?
I'll let you guys in on a little secret. You can ask them. There's this thing where you walk up to them and you're like, "Hi, are you a monk?"
Okay, then I'll just walk up to this elf and perform a traditional monastery monk bow.
I accept. I don't know how I should respond to that.
Bow back.
I hand her a glass. I'm sitting down.
Stand up and bow back.
No, I just hand her a glass and say, have a seat.
Okay, then I'll sit next to the elf.
Okay. Does anybody wish to go ahead?
We can dance for
Well, I have a leer, so I guess I'll start tuning in that to kill the time.
Okay. So you guys
If I hear Wonderwall.
so you guys are kind of mingling about your business. Not really. It's pretty quiet in the room, and all of a sudden you start to hear musical tunes um, come out of nowhere. It seems like so. You guys all turn around and look at the bird person who's playing tunes. Does anybody do anything?
I do a history check in order to determine what song and from what origin she's playing it from.
Okay.
Let's see, how do I do this? I roll a d6?
A d20,
No, D20.
and then you add your history modifier to
history.
it.
Okay.
So 9 plus. Or sure, we'll go with a 19. So as she's playing this music, it's not something that you've heard before, but it's kind of got an upbeat, maybe like a tropical kind of tune to it. It's yeah. I mean, it's not really something you may have heard before. Maybe it's a land unknown to you.
I'm gonna lean back and just kind of nod off to the tune.
Okay.
I stay
Fucking Alki.
I stay paying attention to the map and continue to compare it to my own set of data.
Okay. So you guys are kind of listening to this bird person play the lyre, which is kind of like a guitar, right? Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. When all of a sudden you guys hear a door open from the second floor, so basically kind of right above you guys, and you see this person walk out. He's a human. He's average height, probably like 5'7", maybe 6 feet, somewhere around there. He's got short black hair. He's very young. He looks like very very young person. And he's got this kind of like sad, maybe he's kind of disappointed or depressed walk about him, right? He's just kind of walking down the stairs begrudgingly. And Reyna, right away you recognize this person as Damien, your childhood friend.
I run towards him to see how he's doing.
Okay, so you run towards him, and this person is kind of taken aback. He doesn't really recognize you at first. He stares at you for a little bit. He's like, I, Reyna?
Yes, it's been a while. How are
Oh,
you?
oh man, I'm doing great. Wow, you look so different with all your tattoos, and man, where have you been for the past 5 years? Everybody's been off looking for you. And he just kind of starts to ramble on about what you've been up to, how you've been, what's going on in your life, and then he kind of stops for a second as he realizes that there's a bunch of people right behind you, and he's like, "Oh, are you here with your friends to talk to Syndra?"
I'm guessing we were all called here. Unfortunately, I do not know who any of these are.
Oh, they're not your adventuring friends?
Never met them before in my life.
Oh, well. So I'm assuming you guys are here about the death curse that has been going on. And then as soon as he says death curse, he just kind of trails off and he looks down and he says, That's right, you don't know. And so he turns back to you, Reyna, and he says, Reyna, my father, he was killed some months ago, and I didn't take it very well. But I took his body and I ran to the nearest temple, and I begged them, I pleaded them, please, please raise my father back from the dead. I can't live without him. I don't know what I would do. And after some time, they agreed to raise him from the dead. Although he hasn't been the same since. He won't talk about what happened that night, and he has these terrible, terrible night terrors. And it's just sometimes it's so hard, but I just I don't know what I would do without him. But now with this death curse, he's being taken away from me once again, and every day he seems to grow weaker and weaker, and the temples and the scholars, they don't know what's going on, and they say that this is happening to a lot of people who have been raised back from the dead, maybe everybody in the entire world. But I just can't lose him again. That's why I had to come here to Syndra and beg her, please let me go on this journey. But then I find you guys here. Maybe I can go with you guys. I can help you. I can be useful. Please, let me go with you guys.
It's too dangerous.
But
What
I've grown up
happens-
so much. I've I've become such a good hunter.
And what if something happens to you? What would your father say?
Well, I mean, I suppose you're right. But I I have to cure him. There has to be something I could do.
And that's why you're hiring us. You want us to go out, figure out what's going on, and fix it.
And he
If
kind
you
of
go out there and get hurt, we can't get paid.
and he looks at you and he goes, "Well, yeah. I mean, you guys do seem very skilled and well equipped for this journey, this long journey ahead. I I suppose I'll have to place my faith in you guys." And he kind of silently says a prayer, and he says, "Well, I best be getting back to Father now. It was really nice to see you, Reina."
You too.
And so he continues walking down the stairs. Still sad, but not. He's a little happier now. He's a little more comforted knowing that uh, at least some adventurers are going out to try to stop this death curse. And so the butler walks him out and he closes the door. And he says, "Syndra is ready to see you guys now. Just head up the stairs to the second floor. It's the big door. You can't miss it." So I'm assuming you guys start to walk up the stairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys walk up the stairs, and just like he said, there's this big door, right in front of the stairs, and as you guys start to open it, it's kind of creaky, but you see. You see this room. It's a wooden panel room with a fireplace. It's got some comfortable chairs and a heavy table, which has some goblets and bottles of wine on it. You see the darkly paneled walls are hung with maps and sea charts, racks, shelves, and cabinets that hold hundreds of rolled up, what you would assume to be maps and charts. And there's a person seated in a really overstuffed chair near the fireplace. You can't really see them very well. You can't really tell what gender they may be. But this person, their head emerges from under a heavy blanket draped over the chair, and the hood's embroidered, and they have a silver mask to conceal their face. And as this person kind of peers out of the robes to look at you, they say, "Help yourselves to wine and seat yourselves, friends. I hope I may call you that." What do you guys?
I find a seat with my back up against the wall.
Do I I probably should ask this before. The name of the person or anything about them, do I recognize that from my time here?
No, you don't really recognize this person. All you know is their name is Syndra, from the paper that you guys found in the tavern.
I just sit down in the closest chair.
Okay, so you guys just kind of all sit down. Um, so this person says, I was an adventurer years ago. I died once, and was raised from the dead. I have since closed that door on the stage of my life. The death curse you've heard has struck me. I don't know how much longer I'll last before I perish. Clerics, priests, temples, they all offer no help. They have no idea what's going on. That's why I have called you guys here. For I wish you guys to figure out what is going on. What is this death curse? What causes it? And I want you guys to abolish it. I've never met you guys before, so I wish to know a little bit of something about you guys. So she points to the little itty bitty reptile first. She goes, You start first. What is your name?
Dan.
Dan.
Push to talk, buddy.
Alright, well he's probably getting food. So we'll start with somebody else. So this person looks over to you, Raina, and they go, Well, what about you? What is your name?
My name is Raina.
Tell me a little something about you.
I am a ranger that is trained with a group of elves, and I'm just here visiting.
Visiting. Is there a reason you wish to accept my quest?
It involves a close friend of mine.
Ah, I see. Well, that is a good reason. Hopefully, you will carry it with you, and it will help you along your journeys to be ever forward to destroying this curse. And she looks over to the giant bird person in the room, and she goes, What about you, friend?
I would like to before I do anything, I like to clarify that birds are small.
And birds are small.
Yeah, birds are small. They're at max height 5 feet, so quite small. But so I want to just discreetly look around the room to try and gather any clues as to what type of adventurer they were, what they may have done in their life.
Okay. So you would roll a perception, or perception check.
What kind of dice do I need?
Roll 20. Or d20, sorry.
Okay, hang on. Wow.
Well, I mean, you see a lot of maps, so you think they've probably been to a bunch of different places. Nothing really other than that, though.
Dan, just go AFK.
Yep. Alright, I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Zed, Herald of the Third Eye. And I am a monk of the Eon Monastery.
And what brings you here? Why do you accept my adventure?
By the creed of my goddess, I seek to expand my wisdom and look for the stones she herself made.
Ah, I see. Well, I too hope that is enough to carry you through this adventure. It will be long and it will be troublesome. There are many obstacles that stand in your way, and very dangerous enemies. But I have faith in you all. Something about you guys speaks to me. As she turns to the elf in robes. What about you? What what is your name? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Vance Vanathiel, and I'm just a traveling monk looking for a way to make quick gold.
Ah, it is riches you seek then. Well, riches has never been. Mm, how do I word this?
Can I interrupt her for a second?
Sure.
I would say I'm not looking for riches just to get by.
Well, I don't know if that's ever been a strong enough reason for somebody to go on such a dangerous and treacherous adventure, but I'm sure your party members will make sure that you keep going forward. What about you, other elf? What is your name, and why are you here?
I'm Anorak. I heard there was going to be a good pay for this.
Ah,
Need to eat. And I love to test my skills in random things. See if I'm good enough.
random. Ah, I see. Well, I had high hopes at first for all you, but now I'm not so sure. Riches, fame, glory.
Sorry, I'm back.
I hope it will be enough for all of you. What about you,
Find
dwarf?
out.
I am Thermir, and I see no reason to leave someone asking for help alone, as well as traveling takes money, so a little can help.
Ah, I see righteousness then.
If I may
Yes?
intrude,
Ah, yes, the lizard who ignored my question earlier.
apologies. I had unfortunately used a bad usage of magic. I have put myself on a sleep spell for around 5 minutes. Apologies. I'm still trying to remember how all my magic work. However, regardless, could you please repeat what you were saying?
Yes, I was asking you your name and why. What is your reason for wanting to accept my adventure?
Let me think. Well, for starters, you can just call me Dan. That's all you really need to know for now.
And
Let's
your
see.
reason?
Reason. Hold on. Sorry. Well, my reasoning is really, I believe there was a reason why I came here. It was from your poster. It had a very distinct tone to it. It reminded me of a very far away library I used to be home to. Because of that, I come here asking what type of paper it is. More importantly, where did you get it from? Or how did you make it? See, it's not really the profit. I'm more interested in the knowledge that comes from this.
Ah,
See, I'm on a pursuit of knowledge and nothing more, but in order to do that, I'm too fragile. So I come here and seek not only aid, but benefit.
I see. Well, the place you guys are going is mostly uncharted, so there is much wisdom for you guys to uncover. You will discover much in your guys' adventure, and lots of people will pay very handsomely for maps of this place, I am sure. And you will find all sorts of ancient civilizations, and I am sure you will get what you're looking for. But going back to the dwarf, so righteousness was it then?
Yes, I see no reason to leave someone alone when they ask for help.
Well, might I inquire that you may be a paladin?
I am indeed. I
Oh,
come from a nomad clan, and while searching for new places to explore, I could use a bit of extra coin along the way.
I see, I see. Well, it's always good to have a lawful person in the party to make sure that these guys do not get too out of hand. And so, as you guys finish describing yourselves, she continues on with her story earlier. She says, "Well, I have some contacts, you see, that have learned a little bit about the cause of this death curse. It is a necromantic artifact called the Soulmongerer. According to their sources, this Soulmongerer is somewhere in the far-off lands of Chult. Chult is a peninsula ringed with mountains and choked with rainforest. They even have some enormous reptiles and some savage goblins. But most of all, there is a huge army of undead on the prowl in the jungles and the ruins. Mapping this place has been nigh impossible, and nothing is known about this region's current geography beyond a few miles from the coast. Working from dozens of sea charts, logbooks, explorers' journals, I have assembled everything I know about the current state of Chult into one map, which I will provide to you upon you guys accepting my mission. Do you guys wish to travel to the far-off lands of Chult and stop this soulmongerer?"
I accept.
I do.
Well, I can't very well leave my homeland in danger, and I'm sure my added knowledge of the area would come in handy, so I accept.
Very well.
I'll accept on one condition.
Yes.
Tell us what our reward is.
Ah, yes.
I
Your
can't see
reward.
everything but the bell.
Your reward is any one thing from my treasure vault. One thing from each of you. For each of you. I was quite the adventurer back in my day. I have been to many, many distant lands, many ruins, and have uncovered quite the magical collection. And I will offer each one of you any one thing from my vault.
Works
I do-
for me.
I do an insight check. For questioning a secret stash.
Like, what do you mean?
There might be the stuff that you have, or what she has, I'm sorry, but she might be holding something that she is not telling us. That's in a secret stash. And my insight is if she is a adventurer, she must have something that's a little bit more precious.
Okay.
So let me do my insight. It is. Oh my god.
Like, no, that's.
That was your roll.
Yeah, I was like, goddamn.
My insight is +3. Only a d20, right?
Yes.
Five.
Well.
That's not much better.
That was a little scary.
No, I mean, she just has her vault filled with magical items. Nothing really more precious than that to her.
God damn it.
Okay. So what about?
What kind of modifier do you need for that?
He used an insight check, so he used his insight skill.
Insight check?
Sure.
Alright, use my insight. Okay, got it.
Same thing. You just kind of get that she only has just the vault. Nothing. If anything was really precious to her, it would definitely be in that vault.
Can we ask her what's in the vault?
Sure.
Alright. Madame, do you happen to have any of the fabled Eon stones or instruments of fable in there?
Well, I was never much of a bard, so no instruments, unfortunately. But I don't remember as I am getting older in age, but I don't think there are any of these Eon stones that you speak of.
books by any chance? Old lore?
Lore books? Why, yes. There are all sorts of ancient tomes of ancient history and people. Yes, that is definitely within my vault.
I took interest in this adventure, and I more than happily accept.
What about you, dwarf?
I accept and look forward to the exploring the area.
Very well then. Everybody has accepted, so I will give each of you my map of Chult, which you guys can find in the journal section? Or what section was that?
I think it was a journal.
Journal.
Yeah, journal. You should now have a player's map of Chult in there.
Yep.
Awesome.
So, will my like, if I anything having to do with the map or geography, will I have better rolls since I'm actually from the area, or?
It's possible. It depends what you're trying to discern from the map.
Okay.
All right. Well, Chult is so very far away, and I want you guys to begin right away, so I will teleport all you guys there. No need in taking a boat. So if you guys are ready, I can teleport you now.
Before we may leave, I have a curious question.
Yes.
Do you have any mistletoe on you?
Mistletoe? No, I do not carry any regents in my home, but I guarantee you this port we are going to, Port Nyanzaru, they most definitely have everything you would need.
Thank you.
Well then, shall we?
Sure.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Yes.
And so she kind of puts her hand up in the air, and she starts to cast this teleportation spell, but she stops, and she kind of like cocks her head a little bit in curiosity, and she goes, "Actually, have any of you teleported before?"
I have heard lore about teleportation magic, but not much more than that.
No, I have not.
I looked at her and said, I'm not going to lose an arm or anything, am I?
No, no, of course not, but this should be quite fun. Well, let us carry on then. So she puts her hand back up in the air and she recites this incantation, and all of a sudden it gets really bright in this dark room. And right before she finishes this incantation, you hear this like kind of sound, like kind of sucking you guys all in. And we will take this opportunity to take a break, a little 5-minute break.
I'm finishing my food.